David Webb is host of David Webb's show on SiriusXM Patriot. So I love having him because he's been talking to viewers all morning about this on the radio. Michael Tobman is a former senior aide to Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, who's leading the charge on many things on the Hill right now. And I would imagine he'll add security clearances to his list.
I expect so. Or maybe not. Security clearances are the currency of the realm. They're non-negotiable, and once they're taken away, it's near impossible to get them back. So I think that the president has come on something that touches a nerve in the electorate and in the narrative of national security, and people shouldn't be talking. And at the same time, it really is something that people in Washington and officialdom take very, very seriously.
Can I press in just a little bit with you, Michael, from the Democrat side of the aisle here? You cannot deny that John Brennan has been political. And he has. He has. So is that problematic to begin with? And maybe this is late in the term.
Keeping your security clearance when you've left an administration and left government and you're out there opining on issues of the day is a part of the elite sort of permanent government that the president has campaigned against.
I mean, that makes you political. That's a different type of thing.
It is.
There's also a reality here in what security clearance is. It's about trust at its core. When you're given a security clearance, you're trusted with that information. The administration, Harris, has made a decision that John Brennan is not going to come back and advise them in any way. Now, you go back through the course of high-level officials. They keep it because they may be called back. By the way, they can be reissued on a temporary basis. The executive can do that.
So what Michael said is it's not easy for the individual to get it back.
Right,
but the government
a decision can be made. And look, I have had these conversations with past secretaries like Rumsfeld and others. Presidents have used people from various sides of the aisle. One of the great advisors brought back was former CIA Director Jim Woolsey, who has gone back to speak to many in the past in government because of his experience. The difference is they didn't all go out and turn it into a partisan battle. John Brennan's not being suppressed. Free speech is not the issue.
No, and
he can speak his mind, and he's not being hauled away to a gulag, but he's portraying that image, and so are those other directors who signed that letter.
But the president may be right about this, and others who have said it. When the president targets with either a tweet or his words in a way that lifts up a person's name, I mean, he actually may have a bigger platform now.
I agree with pretty much everything you said. I think, as is often the case with this administration, if the president maybe spoke less about this and let his acts and let his conduct define the conversation rather than speaking about it, it would be considered very different.
But he's going to be asked about it. You know that. The press corps is going to ask because we know that there are other people on a list, and he's the second one now. You know, you had John Brennan, and now you've got Bruce Orr. You've got that second person who we announced
You've got people
today.
like Susan Rice. This is someone who went on national TV after Benghazi, 5 talk shows in one day, and lied to the American people. So why do they have their clearances?
Well, my guest earlier this hour, former DOJ official, said, no, it's bigger than that. This is a person who went on air, and not went on air, but Unmask Americans in
the unmasking of Americans, people that have been involved in the targeting of reporters, of AP reporters, of James Rosen, our colleague here. So when you look at this picture broadly, clearance is back to trust, and will you be trusted to come back? If you're not needed, if you're not wanted for advice, there's no reason for your clearance.
I don't know if you caught it, Michael, but off the top, Anthony Scaramucci was here, and he actually cautioned the president not to jump the shark. Those were not his exact words. What he said was, don't go farther than you need to here because you're going to be vindicated. These things are going to come out, and you don't want it to look like you've gone after people.
I agree with the underlying activities of discouraging the sort of politicizing of and using their security clearance to be out there doing this. The president should, though doing it perhaps for a good reason, be less political about it himself. So we were chatting about it in the green room, and I agree with most of it.
I'm going to bring you right back.
Okay.
Democrats escalating their battle over Brett Kavanaugh's Supreme Court nomination. The legal action they are now threatening to take if they don't get the documents they want. Power panel stays.
Everyone, I'm Dana Perino, TGIF. We're on Manafort verdict watch after the jury asked the judge a few questions. So which side benefits if they don't decide today? Our trusty lawyer will explain. Plus, what did the campaigns of both the Republicans and Democrats advertise about this primary season? It tells you a lot, and we'll tell you more about it. And do you know someone who uses too many exclamation points? Well, we've got some advice for them on the Daily Briefing.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says he plans to meet with Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh next week. Isn't that your old boss?
The senator, not the judge. Yes.
Right. As he and the other top Democrats are warning that if they don't get additional documents they've requested about Kavanaugh, they will sue the National Archives, despite the Senate Judiciary Committee receiving more than 60,000 additional pages of Kavanaugh documents just yesterday. Here's Senator Schumer.
Today we're announcing that we stand ready to sue the National Archives for Judge Kavanaugh's full records if necessary, if the FOIA request isn't granted. The American people deserve a methodical and thorough examination of a nominee to the Supreme Court who will yield immense influence on their lives.
David Webb, Michael Tobin back. Michael, your old boss there, do you think it's a good idea to sue for these documents?
I think it's a great idea that he's meeting. I think an open and deliberate process and an inclusive process with an open door policy makes for better decisions. I think what they are raising the specter of, and I don't have any insight on this, but it's my guess, an educated guess, is as a staff secretary in the White House, was he attached to hot button issues of the day? Torture, reproductive and women's health rights, overseas activities. What was he involved in? My concern there is that really that's an executive function and he was doing his job there. It's not a judicial function and that's what he should be evaluated on. So it feels a bit of an overreach approaching the midterms, but look, it's an open and deliberate
overreach, you mean,
process.
in terms of grabbing those documents?
Yeah.
And you know what my consistent criticism has been? This is the same group of people that didn't read all of the health care legislation, yet they want to go through all these documents before September 4th or 7th or whichever date we're working with.
Wow.
This is the politics of resist. This is the politics of delay. Suing the National Archives is one of those things that could go on forever or be dropped at a moment's notice. So it wouldn't happen anytime soon. And this is where Chuck Schumer is. It's not really about a vetting of the candidate, who, by the way, has 300 decisions roughly, public records. They've been at the Bush Library where they can read a lot of this. And in this, if they get things that are classified, what are they actually going to do with them?
No, I would say it is attached to vetting of the candidate, but I believe that even if they found something that perhaps is distasteful, it was in the judge's role when he was not a judge in executive function.
But,
It feels
but
different.
that would be involved in the actual vetting of the candidate. Say, look, we read his decision. That's not what this is about. They've had 300 roughly public
more
decisions,
than many other
more than most
for
other
the Supreme
judges. And
Court.
by the way, Ruth Bader Ginsburg echoed the words against Schumer's tactics when she talked about not going through a judge's record and not going after them
Previous
based on
to
what they
this.
did
I think
previous.
Yeah, so there was
the
precedent for
Ginsburg
it.
rule.
Real quickly, why is it, and I see Chuck Schumer is now going to do this, and we know that there are fewer than a handful of red state Democrats that feel politically they need to sit down with Judge Kavanaugh, but why other Democrats? Why are they not sitting down?
I can't speak to that. I believe that, and I don't know if this has
You
changed.
think it's political?
I think it is irresponsible not to meet with the nominee, agree or disagree on whatever your ultimate vote is. And I believe that as a former assemblyman and as a longtime member of Congress and as a senator that grew into a leadership position, Chuck understands that to deny information and to not engage in the process never looks responsible. And I'm encouraged to see this, and I don't think she has yet. If Senator Gillibrand has not yet met with him, or other senators, if they're watching now, they should do so.
Still like at 5.
Yeah, I guess. Look, this is more about the political narrative, even outside of Judge Kavanaugh's, I would say, his final confirmation battle in the vote in the Senate. Should they go to the simple majority, those issues will be brought up.
Does
But
anybody think that he's not going to be confirmed?
No, I think he is going to be confirmed.
So are
but
you
this is a
missing an
bigger narrative.
opportunity as Democrats, excuse me, David, but are you missing an opportunity not to just look bipartisan, but also to get some information from someone who could sit there for decades?
Meeting is always better, and I would say if you do more than was provided to Merrick Garland, then it's also something you can bring into the midterms.
Elena Kagan. Susan Collins, by the way, met.
Okay,
Get her.
good.
We'll be right back.